Okay, I have a segment I think you might like, Sarah, because it's all about exercising. You could probably teach me about this stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Bet.
Have you ever heard of high-intensity interval training?
I do it almost 3 times a week.
Bam! Sarah knows all about it. Have you ever heard of rhabdomyolysis?
Yes, all the time.
Do you know there's a correlation?
Yes.
Oh, well then you are very...
They warn about it.
Do they?
Specifically in CrossFit.
Trey, have you heard of rhabdomyolysis?
I have not. This will be the first time.
All right. Well, you know how much I love educating you on very random topics that you can then talk about at your next Christmas party.
Right.
Everyone gather around and listen to me talk about rhabdomyolysis.
I feel like we've talked about this. Like I feel like I have. Not specifically rhabdo.
Yeah, we may have.
But I feel like we've talked about the warning signs of like working out to the point of like exhaustion and how it can affect your body, and that's one of them is rhabdo.
I did a deep dive on this.
Yeah.
Because I like to bring the best information.
That's
so I may bring you some information you don't know. I bet you know a lot of this stuff. Okay, so I didn't even know HIT. Do they call it HIT or is it H.I.T?
HIT workouts.
HIT workouts. It's basically CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
Basically CrossFit.
But it's, I mean, if you go to a personal trainer, they can create a HIT workout for you. Or
I used to do a ton of CrossFit. I swear to God, I'm gonna get back into it one day.
You should.
Okay, I am. So HIIT is a very popular exercise method similar to CrossFit but different. It's characterized by short bursts of intense exercise followed by rest or low intensity exercise. And why we're talking about HIIT is because, as Sarah stated, that there is a risk of a potentially life-threatening condition called rhabdomyolysis, which is caused by damaged muscle cells. And if you take the root words of rhabdomyolysis, I'm about to give you all some knowledge. Rhabdo means striated. So striated is the type of muscle that's skeletal muscle, because we do have different muscle types in our body. There's smooth muscle and then striated. Myo is muscle and lysis means destruction. So this is skeletal muscle destruction. This is literally what the word means. And so this is a thing that is seen with these really high intensity workouts. And about 50% of people who get rhabdomyolysis, or I'm going to call it rhabdo. We always, in medicine, we call it rhabdo. So I'm going to shorten it to rhabdo. Yeah. So about 50% of people that get rhabdo, it does happen in those that are doing these extreme exercises, and especially things that they're not necessarily familiar with. The physiology of what is happening is that the muscle gets damaged from whatever you're doing, whether it be lifting the weight or doing the burpees or whatever, and it causes an increase in the skeletal muscle's internal calcium, which then causes the muscle cells to die. Okay, now it's not a huge problem if a couple muscle cells die. We got tons of muscle cells. But if you get too many that die, it releases these proteins into the blood, myoglobin. So in the skeletal muscle, myoglobin is what is the protein that helps the muscle absorb oxygen. Okay, that's what it does. Also, you get an increase in creatine kinase, which is the protein involved in energy production. Remember, we always talk about creatine powder for creatine kinase. When these proteins get into the blood, if it's a little bit, it's not a problem. The kidneys filter it out, and it just kicks it right out, and you're good. However, these proteins are large in comparison to other molecules that might be zipping through your kidneys. And it's like it's like a storm drain. If there's like 1 or 2 leaves that go to the storm drain, they slip right through. When you get like 1,000 leaves that get into a storm drain, suddenly the storm drain gets clogged. And that can happen to your kidneys. And let me just tell you, as a doctor, you can trust me when I say you don't want your kidneys to stop working.
No.
Because that is bad. That would be kidney failure. And that can absolutely kill you. And so this is similar. Have you heard have you heard of the term DOMS, DOMS?
I have.
You have?
The way you said DOMS, I didn't, that phrase is
I'd never heard this. This is delayed onset muscle soreness.
Yes.
I'd never heard that term.
I swear we have talked about this.
Have we, Trey? Have we? Be the judge. Sarah's saying that we've talked about this, and I'm saying we haven't.
It sounds familiar, but I can't say we talked about it. Maybe we mentioned it or something, but it sounds familiar.
I think I did like an overview of
a side quest.
I think we did it as a side quest on one of our segments.
Like not like overextending yourself when you work out, like something like that. And
it must have been one that you did.
Yeah,
and I probably chimed in about what about rhabdo? Okay.
Yeah.
So DOMS is delayed onset muscle soreness. This is a very mild form of rhabdo. Oh, I ran in the Dallas Marathon last weekend. I was going to say that, and I forgot. Well, it was 2 weekends ago now if you're watching this episode. And so...
You're like almost, did it like make you sick?
I didn't throw up, but I thought I was going to die. Like my muscles just were like, what in the world are you doing? Because I didn't train this year. I normally train for these things, and I got busy with work. And the last time I run was at the end of September, and I was on this marathon team, and I was supposed to run 6 miles, which I did run, and I actually did a pretty good time. I posted a 10-minute mile, which is not bad for 6 miles when you haven't run in months. But let me tell you about how sore I was that night and the next 2 days. I had DOMS.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife thought I was going to get rhabdo. That might be why I thought of this segment. Actually, my friend told me to do this segment. So DOMS, which is delayed onset muscle soreness. So that's the muscle soreness you get from working out. That's just a very mild form of rhabdo. And what the difference is with rhabdo, the pain is not mild or moderate. It's extreme, but it's also at rest. That's the big difference. Like when you have DOMS or delayed onset muscle soreness, if you're laying down, like your muscles don't hurt. I mean, I can tell you, I just literally had this, and actually it was pretty bad. When you have rhabdo, you have pain even when you're not moving, and that's the big difference, and it's extreme. You also will get swelling of the muscles, so your legs will, or whatever muscle group you're using, start to swell up, and your urine turns brown.
Yep.
Because you start to see the protein coloring it. And if I start peeing brown, I personally am going to go to the doctor.
Yeah, one of my, there's this thing that CrossFit does, the Murph, every year for Memorial Day.
What is the Murph?
It's like a memorial workout for a soldier, last name.
Oh, that's nice.
Murph, yeah. And it's like, it's a pretty easy workout, honestly.
Okay.
It's just a lot. But a guy in my CrossFit gym, he got rhabdo.
Really?
And he was so embarrassed.
Was he?
Because like
well,
he had to go to the hospital.
I'm going to circle back around to why you shouldn't be embarrassed in just a minute. So let's talk about stats. When do you get rhabdo? Well, 30% of people get it on the same day as the workout, and about 55% get within 48 hours. And there are some very few rare cases of delayed onset rhabdo, like 5 or 6 days later. It's most common in males. And it's most common in people under 40 years old. About 75% of people that get it are under 40 because those are people that are doing these crazy workouts. This is why your friends should not be embarrassed. It is very rare in elite, like professional athletes, because their muscles are conditioned to not take that much damage. But it is very rare also in untrained athletes, like people who've never worked out, because they can't push their muscles that hard to get it.
So you have to be like right in the middle.
You have to be in the middle. Like you're not like a pro athlete, but you're not like a scrub either.
Yeah.
You're like legit.
Yeah.
Because otherwise your muscles won't be able to get there. Other increased risk factors, regular athletes, which we talked about, BMI greater than 30, so people that are like a little beefy. If you're training multiple muscle groups, which makes sense, like the more muscles that you damage, the more likely you are to get rhabdo. Extreme temperatures, if it's really hot. I'm not sure how physiologically that works, but that's what a lot of these research papers said. Not staying hydrated, that's huge. If you're not, and the reason for that is your kidneys can filter things much, much better when you're hydrated.
Yeah.
If you're dry, meaning you're hypovolemic, like your kidneys are working harder. And this one, I bet you didn't know, there are 2 medications which dramatically increase the risk of rhabdo: the statin drugs, so that's like the cholesterol medications, and then antipsychotics.
Interesting.
And I think a lot of these people have to be psychotic to do these crazy workouts, so that might actually be important.
I think it's like, because you said men, when they are more likely to get it, men are so, like, they're so, I don't know, they push themselves really hard on workouts, more so than they should, a lot.
Right. Well, men are
the ego.
Between men and women, men are much more likely to do something dumb, like work out way longer than they should. I mean, that's
just lift heavier, like lift a weight that's like way too heavy and do it.
Yeah. When you look at like the chart of life expectancy and like men and women, and it's like there's a reason that there's a gap there. Like we're not always making smart decisions. So I applaud you for your longevity. All right. How common is this? Well, it's actually pretty rare.
Yeah.
There's 40 cases per 100,000 population per year. So that's a way that diseases are, or stats in medicine are talking about like how many per 100,000 people in a year, so 40. But there's been a dramatic increase in the incidence of rhabdo in the past decade, 4 to 12 times, depending on what study that you're looking at.
I mean, that makes sense.
Right, because these workouts are more popular. Yeah, that's obvious. That's the reason. So how can you decrease your risk? Well, one really important thing is to keep hydrated. You're much more likely to get it if you're dehydrated. Gradually increase the workout intensity as opposed from going to like nothing to something extreme. And listen to your body.
Yeah.
Listen to your body, people. If your body is dying like I was when I was running that 6 miles, don't keep running like I did.
I think I almost got rhabdo whenever I was in college. I tried out for a cheerleading team when I went to Georgia Southern. I made the cheerleading team when I was at UNT, but
Wow. I didn't know that.
But I was a gymnast and a cheerleader in high school, and I was I did gymnastics every single day.
So you were a cheerleader at UNT?
For like a hot minute, and then I quit.
Oh,
I never got to cheer at a game or anything. I went to cheer camp and all that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I never got to cheer. But when I moved to Georgia and I got into that school, I was like, oh, I'll just try out for the cheerleading team, thinking that I could just do all the stuff that I normally did. No, like I could do the stuff, but it was like a 2 or 3 day workout, pretty much, and it was wild. And I had to lay in bed.
Oh my gosh.
I was so sore. Yeah. I almost think I was like getting sick.
Yeah, you may have had like in between DOMS and rhabdo.
It was bad. It was horrible.
All right, listen to your body, people. That's the important take home. Okay.